All right, good morning, people. This is Boxingwave. We're going to do a quick prediction video for Carlos Takam against Tony Yoka today. This fight is going to be on ESPN Plus, and they're going to broadcast it around 3 p.m. Eastern, all right? So I won't be going live. There's a lot of boxing today. You got this fight. Obviously you got the big fight between Tony Harrison and Tim Zoom. That's going to be on Showtime. And then you have Diego Pacheco card on the Zone as well. So there's a lot of boxing today, all right? But this is a pretty good fight. It's a sleeper of a fight because Tony Yoka is coming off of his first professional loss in a fight where I feel he was dominated. I know the commentary was very, very biased. And I know that he had majority decision loss, but let me be clear, that fight was not close. All right, I remember watching that fight that day. I don't think I've seen it live, but I think I seen it shortly after the fight was over. And I thought Tony Yoka clearly lost the fight. All right. Carlos Takam is coming off a couple of losses too. He recently lost to Arslanbek Makhmudov, who's the heavyweight prospect. That's on the come up, and he also lost to Joe Joyce where he was stopped. But Takam is 42 years old. He's 42, but he's been in there with everybody. A lot of losses to some of the bigger names he's fought, but he was tough for pretty much everybody, and he has some pretty solid wins. All right, just to go down the list here, I have the box rec pulled up. For Makhmudov in his last fight, Joe Joyce before that beat Jerry Forrest. He got a win over Senar Gashi. Got stopped by Derek Chisora. Stopped by Anthony Joshua. All right. Went the distance with Joseph Parker in that loss, but that was one of those questionable wins for Joseph Parker. I mean, Parker won, but I think that was his first step up before Andy Ruiz, if I remember. I mean, that was a tough fight for Joseph Parker. Takam had a good fight with Povetkin and got stopped late. I remember watching that. Got a win over Tony Thompson. And, he had a draw with Mike Perez when Mike Perez used to fight as a heavyweight. So he's been in there. He's super experienced. And, even at 42, he gave Arslanbek a pretty good fight. Arslanbek is huge, big puncher, big, strong guy that likes to come forward, Russian fighter that likes to come forward and throw a lot of punches. And Carlos Takam held his own. He was dropped early in that fight and, did well with the counters. The overhand rights and left. He landed a lot of big, wide shots in that fight throughout that fight. I just thought in that fight he should have attacked the body more. But as far as him being a counterpuncher and holding his own and going the distance with that guy, that monster, he held his own. He did a good job. All right. But Tony Yoka, he's I think he's like a 2016 gold medalist, beat Joe Joyce in the Olympics. I don't think he won that fight, but, that's neither here or there. But he got a couple good wins. He beat Jonathan Rice. He beat David Allen, which was the first fight I ever seen him in. Okay. He beat Dave Allen, Alexander Dimitrenko, a lot of guys, Johan Duhapar, Christian Hammer, a lot of seasoned guys who most of the top tier guys had fought at some point in their career. And, he's collecting the wins and, the proper wins to get up to this fight. 12 professional fights, 11 wins, 9 knockouts, and 1 loss in his most recent fight against Martin Bakole. Now, let's talk a little bit about that loss. A little bit more about the loss and why did it happen. When I went back and watched some of the fight the other day, because I was supposed to record this, me and my dad was watching a little bit of the film study, but with both of these guys. And as I was watching the Bakole fight, I was trying to figure out, because I had went back and watched the Jonathan Rice fight, right? Which I remember to be a pretty good fight. I had seen it before. And then I went back and, watched the Bakole fight. And I was trying to figure out why exactly he was dominated the way that he was. And I think, Bakole just outgunned him. I think I think when I watch Yoka, he likes to you know, he'll be rangy. He'll use his jab. He likes to do a lot of lateral movement. He's like an in and out kind of guy. And even though he's shown flashes of going to wars and training a little bit, he's not really that fighter. Like Martin Bakole, has been in those kind of fights where, like the Michael Hunter fight, like where he was just trying to completely outgun you. And I think him coming out, throwing a lot of jabs, and it seems like Tony would move in and out. He'll circle a little bit, and then he'll come in with like, 1, 2, or he'll throw like 2, punches in each flurry. And Martin was just either ready to respond with 3 or 4 punches, or, he'll time Yoka every time he stepped in and threw a flurry. And he would throw flurries to the body, up top, jabs coming in, all this stuff. And Yoka just didn't have nothing for him. He got hurt early. I don't know if his nose was broken, but he got caught with a good shot early. And to be honest, he never got a good rhythm. Bakole was just stronger. Bakole was constantly coming forward. So he lost the fight to me. He lost clear, but he did finish the fight. It looked to me like he was going to get stopped. But he didn't get stopped. And remember, I watched the fight, not live, not all of it live. I think I did. I think I tuned in late. I didn't watch it from the very beginning. I think that day when the fight was going on, excuse me, the fight was going on, I was watching some tweets. I see people talking about it, and then I turned to it immediately and saw. I think I had to go back and saw the first round and stuff. So I did watch the fight, but as I'm watching it, I'm thinking in my head like I don't see Yoka surviving this because Bakole was just too strong, But Bakole did slow down at certain points of that fight. So I know Takam is 42 years old, but he's still fighting close to his prime, believe it or not. Even in these losses that he's had, he still is able to hold his own. Takam is not the biggest puncher, all right? He can punch, but he's not a big puncher at this level. Let me say that. He stopped a lot of guys, but at this level, most of the top tier fighters he's fought, a lot of those knockouts he got are against some of the lower tier fighters. So a guy at Tony Yoka's, I think he's capable of hurting Yoka, being that we just seen him hurt. Mentally, we don't know where Yoka is at this point. I think this is definitely a good rebound fight for Yoka, though. I think it's actually a great rebound fight because he is stepping down a little bit, but it's not a huge step down. I could definitely see like Martin Bakole. Maybe they did fight each other. I could see Martin. No, they never fought each other. I could see Martin Bakole and Carlos Takam actually facing each other. Takam is always going to be a good fight for anybody. So with that being said, I'm surprised at the odds. They seem kind of wide for Yoka. I think Takam needs to take the approach he took against Arslanbek. You gotta go to war with him. And being that Yoka is coming off of a loss where he was outgunned, you want to go into this fight with the same approach and try to pull off the upset, especially if the dude is, he's not really well coming from that loss. This is his first fight back where he got beaten. Yes, he finished the fight, but he got battered in that fight. And I think that Carlos Takam, yes, used the counters. That's one thing about Bakole. One thing about Takam, he's a good counter puncher. He's great at landing those check left hooks. And the thing with Yoka, he's a high guard type of guy. And Martin, that's another reason why Martin was able to dominate him, because he was able to just throw flurries everywhere around the guard, do the guard to the body a lot too. I think Carlos Takam is definitely going to land some good counters. Definitely see Tony walking into some good check left hooks. Definitely going to run into some right hands. Carlos Takam is going to have to throw combinations, though. He can't just land one big punch. He's going to have to follow it up with something. Because even though Tony got battered, he still finished the fight. So it's going to take a lot more to really hurt him. I don't think it's going to just take one punch, So he's going to have to bring the fight to Tony, And I know he's the older guy. Yes, fight on your back foot at points and set traps. But there's going to be periods where he's going to need to bring the fight to Tony. You know what I'm saying? Get some uppercuts through that guard. Go to the body more than you did in the Arslanbek fight. I think the Arslanbek fight, he was headhunting for too much. And even though he was landing the big shots, he couldn't really hurt Arslanbek. So I felt like when I was watching that fight, I felt like he should have been going to his body more and wearing a bigger, stronger guy down, because his body was completely exposed. So I feel like in this fight, he needs to do the same. Definitely go to the body, definitely fight on your back foot and set traps and counter. But definitely as well, like, bring the fight to Yoka. He's coming from a loss. We don't know where he's at. We don't know if his confidence is there. Don't make it easy for him. Don't make it easy for him. You gotta fight rough. And at 42, I don't know what he can really do. I don't know if he can maintain fighting at that level. This is a 10-rounder. All right. Just like Tony's last fight was a 10-rounder. And you gotta bring the fight to him. As far as Tony got to get back in his groove. Pop that jab, man. Pop that jab. I think this stylistically is probably a better fight for him, even though Carlos is a good counterpuncher. Carlos is older. He's not as young as Martin. So pop that jab. And you got to bring the fight to him, too. I was saying that Carlos needs to come forward a little bit at certain periods of the fight and land flurries. Well, Tony needs to come forward and land more than just throw more than two punches and throw more. Let's see more punches in those combinations. Let's see more. And try to hook with him. Try to hook with Carlos Takam. Catch him with a hook. I've seen him get hurt and dropped by some hooks. Hook off with him. Step in, get in range, and let's get some hooks. And you're the younger fighter. You're the bigger guy. You need to be the aggressor. I like what I saw in the Jonathan Rice fight. I want to see a little bit of that. He took a lot of shots in that fight. It was a good fight. It was very competitive. Do it, man. But be cautious because Carlos is a good, he's a good tactician, and he can punch. And I think the fight will be very competitive. I think even in some of the fights that Takam lost or got stopped in, they were still very competitive. I'm not quite sure if Tony's going to get the stoppage here, but I do think Tony is going to win. I'm leaning towards a decision, though. I think Tony is not going to start off that fast. I think he wants to feel it out a little bit. And I think it's just going to be a different pace than the last Bacoli fight. He got outworked. He was pressured. He won't really necessarily get that here, but he's going to get a fighter that can counter and throw combinations as well. And maybe looking to take advantage of the loss that Tony just got. But I still think Tony is going to do enough to win the fight. I just think it's going to be competitive. It might be so competitive that it might be actually close. Now, this fight is going to be in France. It's going to be in Paris. Carlos Takam, they have him listed here as French in the nationality section. He's currently living in Nevada, and I know he's a Cameroon fighter. I don't know if that's gonna play any effect in France. I don't think so because Tony is the star out there. You know, he is the number one French heavyweight guy. With that being said, I don't think that's gonna play any role there. I mean, Tony is that guy out there. You know, I mean, watching a fight with Piccoli, and I know Piccoli is he's based out of the UK, but hearing that commentary and listen, seeing those judges, the scorecards, you gotta think like any close round they're gonna give to Tony Yoka. So I can see why he's the favorite, but I think Carlos Takam is capable of giving him a good fight and having his moments and even possibly hurting Tony. All right. Or maybe Tony just explodes and he bounces back good and stops Takam. I don't know. But I'm expecting it to go to a decision. I'm predicting a decision win for Tony Yoka. And it should be a pretty good fight. So if you're looking for something to watch before the fights and later in the evening, be sure to check this out. All right. This prediction is kind of late because this fight is going to be later on this afternoon. But you guys that are interested in the fight will definitely check it out. Should be a good fight. I got Yoka by decision. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and be sure to subscribe to the channel. All right. I just woke up out of bed and just rolled over and came out and did this video real quick, man. I didn't even wash my face or anything yet. Or eat breakfast, but good day of boxing, and unfortunately, I won't be covering any of the fights today. I'm not gonna be here. I have somewhere to be. So anyway, I'm out. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.